Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. What's going on, folks? So we're going to change gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the financial aspect of this a little more, and dig into a new article by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists that talks about the British Virgin Islands and the situation down there as far as it being a tax haven and what sort of ramifications Brexit can have on the British Virgin Islands and their offshore type of situation they have going on there currently. Now, we all know that the British Virgin Islands is one of the top spots for this sort of behavior to occur. A lot of shell companies there. And with the release of the FinCen files and the crackdown by not only the United States of America, but governments elsewhere and globally, you see the pinch is really on for these tax havens and these sorts of places where these shell companies find a home. And that's what you're seeing here. If you think that the British aren't going to crack down on this stuff, you're wrong. With the FinCen files being blown up in the paper like that, and the obvious malfeasance being put on blast, people are taking notice now. People are paying attention. And after the Paradise Papers and the Panama Papers and the Luanda leaks, WikiLeaks, people are really paying attention now. So the governments are starting to understand that they better do something, because people are demanding action, and not just in the United States, but worldwide. The question is, though, in my opinion anyway, will these regulations have the teeth that are needed to really rein these people in? Because we know that they're all involved in all kinds of financial scumbaggery, right? We know that. We know that they're involved in money laundering and tax evasion and you name it. And that has been brought to the forefront by all of those leaks I just mentioned. And again, it's not just one nation or one country, or it's worldwide. Everyone who's part of this so-called elite society is involved in some kind of screwy, basically criminal financial decision, it looks like, on a regular basis. That's certainly the way it looks from these FinCen files and all of these leaks and the way that they conduct themselves with these offshore companies and these LLCs and these nameless entities where nobody can track down who's in charge. And meanwhile, all of these already billionaires and rich people just continue to add zeros to their bank account while the poorest amongst us worldwide suffer the consequences of all of this money laundering. And it's absolutely garbage. If we had a real system in place with teeth, Jeffrey Epstein would have never been able to do what he did for so long. He would have been nailed for some sort of financial crime long time ago. But instead, we didn't have the proper safeguards in place, and the ones that we did have in place, they were toothless. Oh, the institution takes the hit, not the person. So, again, while I think this is a move in the right direction, all of the new regulation and holding these people to account, I think until we see these executives take it on the chin for their crimes, then I think that these laws will remain toothless. But hopefully moving forward with the new law put on the books by the United States of America and elsewhere, we'll start to see some movement in the right direction. I wouldn't hold your breath, though. All right, so this article is from the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. The headline: British Virgin Islands corruption scandal threatens its dependable tax haven reputation. The territory, whose shell companies have repeatedly played a role in notorious global crime schemes, also may be blacklisted by the EU after the Brexit deal. This article was authored by Will Fitzgibbon. So it goes to show you the long-reaching effects of the Brexit deal as well. And I'm not talking about which side of it you fall on. Personally, as an American, I don't really feel like I could speak on it too well. I don't know all of the ins and outs. But when you leave something like the EU, there is going to be repercussions. And I could see the EU being spiteful about, the United Kingdom leaving, Britain leaving, and them trying to get back at the UK by, ramping up the regulations for a place like the British Virgin Islands. Now, like I always say, however, I think the EU should worry about their own backyard before they're pointing fingers about the overgrown lawn that England has. But those ramifications still remain because of the Brexit deal. So I've wondered how they would leverage the Brexit deal in ways like this, right? In the major ways how it's going to happen, but in littler ways like this, I'm always interested to see how, the cards fall. It's very interesting to see how all of that works. The British Virgin Islands is reeling from a corruption scandal that threatens to upend the territory's reputation as one of the world's most dependable tax havens. Last week, outgoing BVI Governor Augustus Jaspert announced a commission of inquiry to investigate allegations of corruption and the misuse of millions of dollars in public funds. The outgoing governor, huh? Pretty interesting that it's the outgoing governor that initiates this. And now remember, the United Kingdom is in charge of the British Virgin Islands. They oversee all of this stuff. So I find it interesting that it's the outgoing guy who brings this all up, sets this in motion, right on the heels of the FinCen files dropping. You see, things don't just happen, out of order in situations like this. There are no coincidences. Everything connects to each other. And once one domino begins to fall around the world, you start to see the rest of it happen. And that's what we're seeing here. The long-ranging effects of the FinCen files is playing out right before our eyes. Now, my hope is that it goes even further than what we have seen. I want, especially after what we saw take place with Robinhood and GameStop, I want these people on Wall Street, these hedge fund managers, and all the rest of these bankers and manipulators, I want them to be regulated into oblivion at this point. They're so greedy and so disgusting that we can't trust them to conduct themselves correctly. So their whole entire industry must be highly regulated. The inquiry will focus on a range of claims and alarming discoveries. In a Facebook video posted during his last week as governor, Jaspert referred to accusations he heard during his time in office from officials, journalists, and members of the public, including one case in which $40 million earmarked for COVID-19 relief allegedly siphoned to political allies. Well, what do you know, huh? We all knew that the grift was on, and in our own countries especially, that the money that was set aside for COVID relief was being paid out to cronies and to allies and to donors and shit like that. Main Street wasn't going to see any of it, but it gets blasted and amplified in a place like the British Virgin Islands. $40 million down there is a lot of money, okay? And the fact that it was spread around to the political allies of this governor makes it even more audacious that he's the one that's initiating this investigation. And I wonder if there is pressure coming from England, and that is why this investigation is being opened now. Because usually when it has to do with your political allies, you're pretty hesitant to get anything going, right? You're pretty hesitant to make a move one way or the other. And regulate your people or censor them or bring them up on charges or whatever may have you. But this is a situation where we're going to see a lot more of this moving forward, I think, folks. In the wake of the FinCen files and all of the new money laundering regulations that we're seeing pop up around the world, I think we're going to see a lot more of these inquiries. And all of these bankers that have been running around for all of these years, engaging in all of this, let's be nice and say borderline behavior. Well, I have a feeling that all of their chickens are going to come home to roost, because if the whole world gets on board with this kind of thing and everybody starts prosecuting these people in the proper manner, then I think it's going to send a huge shockwave through the whole entire industry, and it's going to show these people that they're not above the law, because up until now, they truly believe that they're above the law. How many of them went to jail over the financial meltdown? How many of these people who basically bankrupted all of our 401ks went to jail? I'll tell you, none of them. And meanwhile, while all of that was happening and they were getting bailouts of your money, they were still running these offshore operations, these shell companies, not paying taxes, not paying back their loans. Oh no, that's forgivable. You're too big to fail. What does that even mean, too big to fail, while I'm ranting? There's no such thing as too big to fail. You fail, and then somebody else moves into your place in the market and provides a service that you were providing, but better. That's how all of this works. And I'm tired of the crony capitalism, especially in the financial sector. I mean, you see the way that Wall Street is operating. You see Robinhood getting shut down to help the hedge fund managers cover their positions. It's such BS. It's such garbage. You know, they don't want anybody to get out of poverty or anybody to make any money. They don't want that, because then you can't be controlled if you're making your own money and you're the ruler of your own life and you're not relying on the government for anything. So how dare you try and get in on the market and get in on the short, the way that the hedge funds do on a regular basis. How dare the common man try and make a profit? We need to stop that trading right now. We're the only ones that are allowed to steal, says the hedge fund managers. And then Robinhood's bitch ass, more like robbing people, just going right along with it and pausing trade. Oh, now they announced that trade's going to resume tomorrow, but, you know, we'll just pause it now. And they did it for your own interest, to make you better, to make sure that your position is protected. We don't need you to protect us, okay, Robinhood? These people on Wall Street and these financial advisors and these firms and these hedge fund managers, they've gotten away with this shit for way too long, folks, and it's time that the script is flipped. How many companies have they ruined with their shorts? And now the shoe's on the other foot. Well, we can't have that, can we? The only people that can have a tilted playing field are the so-called elite, I guess. In another case under investigation, the BBC reported cocaine worth almost $250 million was found in the home of a local policeman. A local policeman? What do you mean, like a patrolman? Where do you get $250 million worth of snort as a regular old policeman? That's a lot of kilos, folks. That's a lot of kilos of cocaine. What does this dude's uncle live in Medellin? Packaging them up a little bit of something and sending it up north? What in the hell is a regular old policeman doing with $250 million worth of nose candy? I'm sure he's the only one involved in that, right? I'm sure he saved up his policeman's salary in the British Virgin Islands and put all of that blow on layaway. Come on, man. Who else is involved? He's holding it, probably. He's the bag boy. Which one of these ratbag politicians is really the one pulling the strings? Who's the puppeteer? Because obviously, this dude is the puppet. The inquiry is backed by the United Kingdom, which oversees the BVI as an overseas territory. The BVI governs its domestic affairs and raises its own taxes, but relies on the United Kingdom for defense and diplomatic matters. Yeah, overall, the United Kingdom is going to be involved in this, right? They're going to provide logistical support, forensic support, all of that jazz. They're definitely going to help them try and blow this up, try and get people arrested. And, whoever was involved in this stealing of this money, the $40 million here, they're going to try and make it so this person pays a price. And I think that's a damn good start. All of these politicians that were involved with this sort of thing, with setting up Jeffrey Epstein, all of these people need to be held to account. And as much as I dig what Denise George is doing in the Virgin Islands, sending out the subpoenas and going hard in the paint, I think until she cleans up her backyard and charges some of the politicians that were involved in all of this, then they really shouldn't be trying to get any money out of the fund, because it's just a bad look, right? But over in the British Virgin Islands, you see the same thing starting to happen over here. You see the locals starting to get on board, and they're starting to say no more. You're not going to use our island as some a mecca for illegal activity. These are beautiful places, folks. Is there anyone that's listening to this podcast right now that would turn down a trip to either of these places to go sit on the beach and sip a few Mai Tais? You can certainly count me in. So it's a shame when a few people ruin it for everybody. It's a shame when a few people give it a black eye. And that's what this governor is trying to stop here, it looks like. Trying to set some things right on his way out the door. And you know what? You can only applaud that, because it's, we go hard enough on people when they are not doing the right thing. So when they're doing the right thing, well, it's good to give them some props. So this outgoing governor, definitely somebody that should be given some props. A consistent and deeply troubling array of concerns have been put to the governor by local institutions and the community. UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said in a statement to Parliament, "We cannot ignore such serious allegations." And they can't, right? They have to act. They have to come forward. They have to do something about it, especially considering the FinCen files putting it all into picture for people. It's a lot for people to put together themselves, but when the pieces are there and you start moving them around on the puzzle board yourself, it's a lot easier when all the pieces are provided for you. The BVI is one of the world's most popular tax havens and attracts legitimate business corporations, celebrities, multimillionaires, and criminals alike. The island offers cheap and simple shell companies that allow their owners to avoid registering their names in public. Oh, that's nice, right? Real nice, isn't it? I would hope that changes as well. That definitely needs to be something that changes, like with the new law here in America. That's something that they're doing away with. Now, of course, there's going to be a shit ton of loopholes, and we've talked about that already. But it's a start, right? We gotta walk before we can run. While owning and piping money through BVI companies is legal, shell companies created on the island are a regular feature in the world's most notorious scandals. BVI companies appeared in a $2 billion scheme in the name of a close friend of Russian President Vladimir Putin and the corruption pact that last week saw Israeli tycoon Benny Steinmetz sentenced to jail. So as you can see, there's some very unsavory characters that are using these shell companies for very unsavory practices. Friends of Vladimir Putin, chances are you're an oligarch scumbag, sir. Probably shouldn't be doing business with you. Have a nice day. More than half the shell companies exposed in the Panama Papers investigation were registered in the BVI, according to an analysis by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. More recently, ICIJ revealed as part of the FinCen files investigation that BVI companies appeared in 1 in every 5 suspicious activity reports filed by banks that had concerns about possible money laundering. Yikes, 25%, folks. So the struggle is real. The problem is real. And the fact that the outgoing governor here, Mr. Jaspert, is putting this on blast is a huge deal in my opinion. And I think it's a good thing. It's about time that these people are put on blast. And the government of the United Kingdom has to get on board. And they have to have some teeth with the legislation. And they have to make sure people are paying a price for their corruption. It is the only way to stop it. More recently, responding to pressure and sustained scandals that highlighted the role of BVI shell companies in global crime, the island last year agreed to introduce a public register of company owners. Following the United Kingdom's exit from the European Union, pressure from European members of Parliament has grown to add the BVI back to the continent's tax haven blacklist. Previously, the UK had lobbied to keep its overseas territories off such a list. Yeah, well, they want to make money off of it, right? What, you don't think that the politicians in the government of the United Kingdom are corrupt? Oh, they are. Breaking news, politicians worldwide are corrupt. That's why they lobbied to keep it off such a list. And for the EU's part in it all, well, it's pretty childish, right? When England was part of the EU, A-okay, sure. But now you're gone? Yeah, no, we don't think that's okay anymore. And I get it, right? It's all part of it. But they should have been like that when England was part of the EU. They should have been as forceful and gone against the silly ass tax havens and the way that they're manipulated and used for criminal activity. For years, the BVI and its defenders have presented the overseas territory as a reliable location for which the global so-called elite can discreetly and cleanly manage their affairs and avoid the world's prying eyes. Yeah, no more of that. We should just do away with all of this shit. If I have to bank in America, so should you, or wherever your country is. Here's an idea. You want to start one of these shell companies? You're going to have to start it in the United States or in England or in Europe, and you're going to have to put everything on record. Enough of this BS. The BVI is a stable and mature financial center with a distinctive and professional legal and regulatory framework, according to an advertising brochure that forms part of the ICIJ's 2017 Paradise Papers investigation. In the past, companies and individuals questioned by ICIJ about their choice of the BVI have praised the jurisdiction as having a recognized and well-established regulatory and compliance regime. Oh, well, I guess if you consider that 1 in every 5 SARs being filed coming from there, I guess that's a great regulatory system and a great compliance regime. Holy cow, talk about not giving a damn and only caring about increasing the zeros on your bank account. Many disagree. Margaret Hodge, a UK member of Parliament who has pushed for greater transparency in the BVI, told The Guardian that the shocking revelations that corruption may be rife in the BVI are a shameful indictment of the tax haven model. It is clear that an economy based on secrecy and low taxes is a recipe for bad governance, corruption, and criminality. Well, look, these shell companies certainly are all of that. And as the Epstein case continues, we're going to continue to cover this stuff, this financial portion of it, as a subplot. And we'll continue to cover the FinCen files as they come out and as more stories grow from them. Because, folks, as our case, the Epstein case and the Maxwell case, continues to grow, you will see how important the financial aspect truly becomes. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. All right, everybody, I'll be back later on. Have a great night.